Aloha everyone and welcome to Skincare with Hyram. If you don't know who I am, my name's Hyram and I'm passionate about teaching you how to perfect your skincare routine. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week. Today I'm going to be talking all about the skincare brand Differin. Now, Differin is something that I've honestly overlooked for a while. I didn't really think that it was that popular of a brand or that a lot of people would be interested in it until I've seen on some of my recent live streams, which by the way, if you want to know when I do live streams, make sure you go follow me on Instagram at Skincare by Hyram. I post all the updates there. But I started seeing a lot of people request reviews for Differin on my live stream, and it wasn't until YouTube has this option where you can search through comments for specific terms, and I searched Differin and oh my god, so many of you guys have been asking for what my opinions on Differin are, and I apologize for taking this long. Maybe I'm really slow, but we work with it. And Differin is something that honestly I have really mixed opinions on, and in preparing for and making this video, I was a little bit nervous because I'm like, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the brand, the philosophy, and then I'm going to get into the individual products and their ingredient lists because ingredients don't lie, bitch. I don't know what this hand motion was. And then afterwards, I'm going to tell you guys what my opinion is of the brand and if I think it's actually worth it or not. So let's get into it. Now, when it comes to Differin, honestly, one of the reasons I overlooked it for so long is just because it doesn't necessarily have the design aesthetic appeal that would necessarily resonate with me. I mean, it's the same reason why I overlooked a lot of brands like CeraVe, like The Ordinary, and others for so long, just because their packaging is very simple. It doesn't really have anything that pulls you in, and it definitely looks more medicinal than anything, which go figure that those are now some of my favorite brands. But I am now at a point where I don't like to judge products based off of their packaging or what the branding is, but more so based off the ingredient list. Now, Differin is an interesting company, and the way that I'll kind of speak to the brand is also based off of their primary product, the Differin Gel Adapalene 0.1% treatment. Now, you'll notice that word and percentage in the name Adapalene. What is Adapalene? Adapalene is essentially a prescription-grade retinoid, and I say essentially because it used to be accessible by prescription only, but now it's available over the counter, so anyone can buy it, no matter who you are, without a prescription, which I think is amazing. Now, if you're like, Hyram, what? Retinoids. Now, what is a retinoid? I could honestly get so complicated, but that's really not the purpose of this video. So I'm just going to talk very briefly about what retinoids are and their benefits. Retinoids are typically ingredients that are found in prescribed treatments by dermatologists. How retinoids work is they really help to increase cell turnover and get rid of damage in the skin. And I'm talking really intense damage like dark spots, acne scars, aging damage, and they work way more effectively than anything you'll find just at the store, which is why they're by prescription only. You have to get them from a dermatologist. Now, there's 4 primary types of retinoids: tretinoin, tazarotene, trifarotene, and adapalene. And all of them have different functions. You've probably heard of tretinoin because a lot of teenagers get on that one to treat their acne, but they're all amazing for specifically treating acne. And adapalene is one of those ingredients that has been used for a long time by dermatologists, prescription-based within the USA. But a few years back, adapalene was approved to be used in an over-the-counter capacity, which means we can now buy it at the store, where we introduced Differin. Differin is primarily popular for their 0.1% adapalene gel. And adapalene specifically is an amazing retinoid because it's typically well tolerated by the majority of people's skin in comparison to other retinoids, because unfortunately, retinoids do have the reputation of being very sensitizing and irritating to the skin, at least when you first use them. Even though, yes, it does resolve damage within the skin, sometimes it's a lot for people's skin to handle, and you have to either get used to it, or sometimes retinoids just don't work for you. And adapalene is typically the most well received by sensitive skin, and I think that's honestly the main reason why it's now available over the counter instead of just prescription. If you do want to learn more about retinoids and how they work, I will include multiple videos I've watched by dermatologists here on YouTube that I love, and some articles that make it really simple to understand. And if you guys do want to see a video on my channel breaking down that information, I am happy to make one. Just let me know. Adapalene is amazing for resolving acne. Now, retinoids target so many specific types of damage, but adapalene is really, really good for resolving acne, and that's typically the main way it's used by people. Now, some of you may be thinking, Hyram, I thought retinoids were like for older people who are trying to get rid of their wrinkles. Funny story, bitch. Retinoids were actually first introduced to the industry as a way to resolve acne. That was their primary function. That's what they were known for doing. And it wasn't until other clients started using it and they noticed that there was a reduction in their wrinkles that scientists were like, oh, maybe we should try this for wrinkles as well. And voila, retinoids had the reputation of helping with aging as well, but they're primarily targeted at acne. And that's why I really do think that the best people to use Differin specifically are people struggling with acne. Now, the Differin gel is extremely simple, very minimal ingredient list, really just focused on delivering and dabbling into the skin. And 0.1% might not sound like a lot, but bitch, let me tell you my experience. And this is the part I'm a little nervous about. My skin isn't very sensitive. I know some people think it is because I'm very picky about what ingredients I like in skincare, but truthfully, my skin really isn't that sensitive. I've never had an issue using retinol in the past, and it was a few months back where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try Differin out. I'm gonna see if my skin likes it. I'm really excited to use it because it doesn't just treat acne, it treats a lot of other damage as well. And if you guys have watched any of my recommendations for using a retinol, let alone a retinoid, you guys know that I always preach to be very careful, very particular, very intentional about how you introduce a retinol or a retinoid into your skincare routine. And I made sure to follow my own rules, and I think I used it for 2 weeks, just once a week. And oh my god, I cannot even describe how sensitive my skin was. Holy shit, it got so red. It stung every time I tried to touch my skin. It was flushed, burning, stinging. It was not pleasant, and I know that sometimes that is the introductory, unfortunate phase of using a retinoid, but it was enough to really scare the shit out of me because I couldn't apply any steps in my skincare routine without my skin burning. I had to reduce my routine to only a sunscreen, and even that really burned. It was not pleasant, and I was like, you know, let me just put this on the shelf and press pause, give my skin a little bit of a break, and I promised myself I would try it again before I made this video. Then I chickened out. I got scared. I'm just like, I really don't want to go through that experience again. It just kind of freaks me out. And I do take the position with skincare by saying if I don't need it in my routine, I'm not going to use it. And when it comes to this intensive a retinoid treatment, it's not necessary yet. I'll just stay with my normal products, keep using those. And I apologize because I really did want to try it again before making this video, but that has been my hesitation with the Differin gel. Now, does this mean I'm like, the Differin gel is terrible, it's awful, I don't recommend it to anyone, never use this product? No, I actually think Differin gel is amazing. I think it is such a good product for really resolving acne, and I wish that my skin could tolerate it. I really, really wish it could, but it just doesn't work for my skin. And one thing I always want to make sure is prevalent in my review videos is that just because a product didn't work for me doesn't mean it's a bad product, and vice versa. I hope that message is prevalent on my channel because I don't want to say like Differin is bad because my skin reacted to it. And yes, I will try it again one day in the future when I get up the bravery. But overall, I think it's a great product. And my overall recommendation is just to be very careful, be very intentional about how you use it. Make sure you're prepped and ready just in case your skin does freak out like mine did. And of course, I feel like this goes without saying, but you know, I gotta say it because people still won't register this. Sunscreen is a must. It is absolutely necessary that you use a sunscreen whenever you use a retinol, let alone a retinoid, which is much more concentrated. If you are going to start Differin, you absolutely must use a sunscreen. Be careful and see if it works for you. Now, when I was first introduced to Differin, I really only thought that was their only product, but it turns out there's an entire product line. I mean, I've known about it for a while. But you know, I want to talk about those products in this video as well because I know a lot of you guys are interested in what my opinion is of the other products. So they also have their Daily Deep Cleanser, which specifically intrigued me because it is a benzoyl peroxide based cleanser. And benzoyl peroxide surprisingly works really well alongside Differin. You never know with benzoyl peroxide because sometimes it doesn't interact well with other acne treatments, but when used in conjunction with Differin, it can actually prove to be really beneficial and help to clear up the acne faster. And my personal favorite form of benzoyl peroxide is in a cleanser because I don't know if you guys have ever used a benzoyl peroxide spot treatment, but that shit stains. It stains really bad. And sometimes it can also be drying as well, so having it in a cleanser form can be really nice. The ingredient list is very simple, and that's one thing I will say about Differin overall is that they tend to be just a very simplistic brand when it comes to their ingredient list, which is not a bad thing. I mean, in terms of skin sensitivities, the less ingredients you have, the less likely people are to experience irritation. And this is definitely not a brand with products that are fully loaded. It's solely focused on delivering the active ingredients, and that's it. One ingredient in this cleanser is sodium C14 through 16 olefin sulfonate. I've talked about it on my channel before. I'm not the biggest fan of this as a primary cleansing agent, but on this ingredient list, it's so low that I don't think it's problematic whatsoever, and I think this cleanser is totally fine. Now, I do want to use this cleanser, but I have like 3 different benzoyl peroxide cleansers that I need to use first, but the reviews on this are really good, and from an ingredient standpoint, I'm a fan of the product. Also in line with the cleanser family, they also have their gentle cleanser, and this one is so simple. Like, that's honestly the only word I can think of to describe this cleanser. When they say it's a gentle cleanser, it means bare bones basic. Like, it will only cleanse your skin and that's it. No beneficial ingredients, no treatments, no soothing ingredients, and that's not a bad thing. It's just not necessarily appealing to me because I do like to enjoy skincare for all the different types of amazing ingredients that are available. And when I see a product like this, it doesn't inspire me, but at the same time, I understand that it's formulated for someone with extremely sensitive skin who can't handle a lot of the ingredients that I love, and that's where this product could be be beneficial for you. But if you are someone like me or you don't really have that sensitive of skin, I really do recommend, if you are going to go for a drugstore cleanser, go for the CeraVe ones, like the CeraVe Acne Foaming Wash. I love that one, particularly if you have combination or oily skin. It's great. It gives you more beneficial treatment ingredients like ceramides. Or there's other great drugstore cleansers as well, like the Roche Posay Toleriane cleansers. I love both of them, whether you have dry skin and you use the hydrating one, or you have oily skin and you use the purifying one. Those have amazing ingredients, not only cleanse the skin, but deliver some good ingredients through that cleansing experience. I'll have those products linked in the description box below. If you do want to use those links, I would really appreciate it because I do make a small commission, but no pressure whatsoever. They're just there as a reference. And if you do want to see more of my favorite drugstore cleansers, I will have the video linked in the description box below. I've talked all about all of my favorites in that video. But yeah, I would say this cleanser is only if you have extremely sensitive skin, like everything will break you out. Then they have their oil absorbing moisturizer SPF 30. This one I was immediately attracted to because whenever I hear oil absorbing, my heart sings a little bit because I have really oily skin, and when it's humid, it's great to have a moisturizer that doesn't feel heavy and doesn't make you sweat more. Plus the SPF on top of it can be really helpful. And looking at this ingredient list, it is a little bit more amped up than the other products. It has allantoin, which is great for moisturizing the skin, dimethicone, a great silicone that helps to trap in water loss, glycerin, great for hydration, and panthenol, also great for hydration. But the ingredient list is still pretty simple. However, it does include UV filters that I'm personally not a fan of: avobenzone, octisalate, and octocrylene. And these are all chemical UV filters, and typically I like to avoid chemical UV filters because of their potential sensitivity in the skin, and a lot of people really like them because it makes sure that you don't have a white cast, it feels lightweight, it's a luxurious experience. But I personally prefer mineral sunscreens because an ingredient like zinc oxide is way more tolerated than a lot of chemical UV filters, and I find it a little bit ironic for Differin being a brand really focused on making products that aren't going to increase sensitivity, but I also understand that they want kind of that nice experience for people where it doesn't feel like a heavy sunscreen. So I understand it, but I'm just not a fan of the formula. They also have their dark spot correcting serum, which this one is pretty popular. I'd say it's probably the second most popular product. Maybe the benzoyl peroxide is the second most popular. I'm not sure, but it's definitely up there. This one is a hydroquinone treatment with 2% hydroquinone, and I believe 2% is the highest hydroquinone inclusion you can have in an over-the-counter product. I think anything higher than that, you have to get a prescription from the dermatologist, and hydroquinone can be an incredible ingredient for getting rid of dark spots and hyperpigmentation in the skin. It is a skin bleaching agent, which sounds bad, but when you have dark spots and hyperpigmentation, it can actually be really beneficial. However, my concern a lot of times with hydroquinone treatments is that they're not always used in a way that is solely for dark spots, unfortunately, due to racism that exists in advertisements all over the world and the fucked up public association of whiteness with beauty. A lot of times people with darker skin tones feel a pressure to use hydroquinone treatments to brighten their skin, and that's why it really does come down to how often you use it, where you use it, what your intent is, and where I recommend exercising caution and being really particular about what you're using it for. Not to mention, if you don't wear a sunscreen with a hydroquinone treatment, it's going to make your skin so damaged, so be careful. The only thing I'm not crazy about in this formula is that it is formulated with a high concentration of denatured alcohol. However, I can kind of understand the intent. Denatured alcohol can be used as a delivery system, and when it comes to an ingredient like hydroquinone at 2%, I can understand why it would be formulated that way, but still, I'm just someone who likes to avoid denatured alcohol at high concentrations. I just don't feel it's really necessary, but overall, this ingredient list is really simple, stays in line with their philosophy. Not the worst I've seen, but also not my favorite. Honestly, if you want a product that's going to fade hyperpigmentation and dark spots, I recommend the Inkey List Alpha Arbutin Serum. Alpha Arbutin is actually similar to hydroquinone. I don't believe it's as concentrated, but it's in the same family, so you'll see really beneficial results. I think hydroquinone is an ingredient that I'm like, use it as a last resort if nothing else works. But if you haven't experimented with a lot of ingredients that help to fade hyperpigmentation, Alpha Arbutin is a great option to go with. Finally, we have my favorite product from the brand. I mean, well, Differin Gel would be my favorite if it didn't freak my skin out. But this is my other favorite, their Soothing Moisturizer. Looking at this ingredient list, I was really impressed. It has glycerin, avocado oil, an amazing oil for moisturizing the skin, vitamin E, which is great for moisturizing the skin and may have some benefits for skin repair, dimethicone, and panthenol. I think this is a good example of an ingredient list that is focused on skin sensitivity, not putting too much, but still has a good balance of some beneficial ingredients that are going to help to moisturize and soothe your skin as much as possible. And I would recommend it. And those are all the products. So what are my thoughts on Differin? Overall, I have to say, I like the brand. I think what they're doing is really good, and for anyone who is struggling with acne or severe skin damage, they would be one of the top brands, if not the top brand I would recommend at the drugstore. Looking at all their products, they definitely don't have my favorite products that I would necessarily be racing to the door to buy, but their products are formulated with good treatment ingredients and are very simple to be well tolerated by people with the most sensitive skin, which is honestly really necessary because I see so many of you guys commenting about how nothing works for your skin and everything breaks you out. This is one of those brands that could be beneficial for you. They don't have too many products. Their price point point is great. Like, honestly, they could really gouge the price of their Adapalene treatment if they want to, because it's so hard to find another Adapalene treatment on the market, but they keep it affordable, which I really appreciate. And honestly, the only thing I don't like about Differin is that their product made my skin freak out, which is, of course, not something that I believe should be a reflection of the brand. It just sucks because I really want to try the product and I want it to work for my skin, but alas, it's okay. It happens. What are you gonna do about it? Is Differin a brand that I would recommend to everyone? No, definitely not. I would only recommend it to people who are really struggling with severe acne or skin damage and want to reverse those effects, but they don't necessarily represent the level of uniqueness and innovation that I typically like to see in a brand where they have a good blend of so many different types of soothing and treatment ingredients that really engage your curiosity. And honestly, the only thing I have left to say is that if you want to use Differin, totally go for it. Just make sure you know the possibilities of skin sensitivity and irritation, because they are real. Be very careful, be very mindful, and always wear a sunscreen. Always wear a sunscreen. But what do you guys think of Differin? Let me know in the description box below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, what your experience was with the products. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and to the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah.